I'm getting ready for this big, long 60-mile hike. Why did it come out that way? It was like a ghost appeared and I became frightened. Shake it out. Shake it out. I just think of that SNL where it's like, you just need to shoot some vocal arrows. Hello and welcome to Typically Hazardous. I am Steven and today we have a very, very special edition of cowboy cooking. I'm ready for this big 60-mile hike and I need a couple of survival foods to take along with me. And so today we are cooking pemmican and hardtack. Traditionally, hardtack only has 3 ingredients. It's very, very simple to make. It starts off with flour, which we've got here. I've got 2 cups of just regular all-purpose flour. After that, water, salt. That is it. That's the entire ingredient list for hardtack. It's extremely simple. The unfortunate side of that is the nutritional profile of it is very, very simple as well. But it lasts forever. There's literally hardtack in museums. It's like 500 years old and you could still eat it. It has no shelf life. That's what's really great about it. I like to do mine slightly differently because I don't need it to last 500 years, and so I add just a couple of things. First of all, to make it a little bit more flavorful, I put a little just Italian seasoning, a little bit of black pepper as well, just because I like to taste things, and just a little bit of oil. This would traditionally be a huge, huge no-no for hardtack because this is what could actually go bad in this. Usually the way hardtack is actually consumed, a traditional hardtack, is it's soaked first, either in water or in milk, or if you were on, a trade ship 300 years ago, grog maybe, and then they would pan fry it, or they'd soak it in soup or something like that. But since I only need it to last for a couple of days, I like to make it a little bit easier to eat. So this is like semi-hardtack. That's kind of what you've got here when we add oil to it. Okay, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon and a half of salt, and I'm gonna put in some Italian seasoning, and this is just sort of to taste, and some black pepper. Okay, water, 3 tablespoons of oil. Okay, now we just roll it out. I'm down to about maybe 1/4 inch, and that's about where I like it, right about 1/4 of an inch. And then what we're gonna do is cut it up into pieces, and these are gonna be like 1 inch by 2 inches, something like that. The pizza cutter works great for this. And then it just goes onto a pan. The very last thing that you do is you go through all of these with a fork, and you just poke some holes in these. The last thing that we do is we pop it in the oven for about 25-30 minutes or so, till it starts to brown and look nice. Okay, so while we're waiting for that hardtack to finish cooking, we're going to start working on some pemmican. You may not be familiar with what pemmican is, but it is one of the ultimate survival foods made by the ancient Native Americans. And so typically it was made from bison or elk or deer or something like that, and it was equal parts rendered fat and meat, and they'd mix it all together and they'd kind of put it into these little bars and they would nibble on that, and it's super nutritious, incredible source of energy, and it keeps forever. And so we're going to make some pemmican, but instead of using bison or elk or deer, I'm gonna make mine with some bacon.
Bacon? Ooh la la.
And it's just delightful with bacon. It's so good with bacon. And so let's get started on this pemmican. So the first step is to take your favorite brand of bacon, it doesn't much matter what it is, and throw it on some device to cook it. I really like this electric griddle here because number one, it's big and I can do a ton of bacon at once, but it lets me manage the bacon grease that's coming off of it because that's critical. That's the most important part to preserving your pemmican. And so I've got this little trap here that catches all of it. Now you can do this in a pan and that works just as easy. Just make sure that you're catching every last drop of that grease. smell something? That smell good, Jack? Oh yeah, you're sitting like a good boy. I think that means you get something. Probably right. There you go, there you go. And if I die out in the woods because I didn't have enough pemmican, it's on you. Okay, Jack, you gotta get out of the way here. I don't want you to get a hot pan to the face. Oh, yeah, those look pretty good. Starting to get a little brown and crispy in the corners. Yep. Probably shouldn't touch them yet. Just want to so bad. It's a little hot, like a child. I can't help it. Okay, hardtack's done. We just gotta let it cool off now. Okay, now that we've got that bacon cooked down and the fat rendered, it's time to put it into a blender to get it all mixed all together and happy. I'm gonna actually take these whole slices of bacon and just chop them just a little bit. I kind of want them to just kind of lay down flat. And the reason you want to do that is because you kind of want the fat that we're gonna put in here, the bacon grease, to kind of be able to cover a lot of it up. Because that's one of the ways that it preserves, is by having that fat all over the place. Here's my little tray of the bacon grease, and this is just what cooked off of this particular batch of bacon. You just pour it right in there, and you can see that the grease only comes up to, you know, like right there. And that's okay, we're gonna blend it together. It'll be all right. They're gonna get to know each other right in this blender. But I have a secret weapon. Like any good Texan, I keep basically all of my drippings from bacon. And so this is from many bacon meals of the past, and we're just gonna supplement a little bit of it and throw it in here. I'm gonna go warm it up and then we'll pour a little in. Pour it in, I think like that. We'll start there, and we'll just blend it up and see what we've got. I try to keep the bacon, or whatever meat you're putting into it, a little more coarse. Like, I don't like it pureed or anything, just because it gives it a much nicer texture when you're eating it. Like, it's not fun to just eat like a like a fat bar, but if it's got some stuff in it, it makes it a little bit more palatable. All right, so the last thing that we do is we take it and we pour it into some sort of receptacle, and we put it in the refrigerator and we let it cool down. That's what helps solidify it. Now, something that the Native Americans used to do is they also would put in some wild berries that they would find. And what I really like in this is cranberries. Dried cranberries is so good in this, but I didn't have any at home. So the only dried fruit I did have were some raisins. It took me by surprise. And so we're gonna throw a little bit of raisins in, but if I hate it, I don't wanna ruin all of my pemmican. So I think I'm gonna do half regular and then half with raisins. Man, that does not look good. It's better than it looks, I promise. I don't know. Let's go for it. Appetizing, huh? Okay, next I just go in the refrigerator. Okay, so the hardtack is done. It's cooled off, it's ready to store, and we're just gonna end up putting it in some of these plastic bags and taking it with us on the trail here. But it is, yeah, it's real hard. Really hard, which is exactly what you want. When you remove all of that moisture out of it, that's what allows it to keep for so long. So you could throw this in your backpack, in some saddlebags or whatever, and it'll keep for months. And it will be, I mean, it's not like it's really great fresh like this either, but it'll be good for that whole time. It's good, really good. It's like a, like a thick saltine or something, but it's not quite as like flaky like a saltine would be. It's very dense, and it's got that great like Italian flavoring to it as well, which just makes it a lot more interesting to eat. And it makes a lot of noise, but it doesn't break your teeth. Regular hardtack without the oil in it, you really got to work on it. It kind of breaks your teeth, but this is pretty good. All right, let's put it away. Okay, so it's time for the pemmican, and yeah, I know it does not look good. I totally get it. But there are very few foods that are as calorically and nutrient dense as this is. Like that is like 3,000 calories, just right there, which is more than your daily allotment. And so when you actually eat this out on the trail, you're not eating like that whole thing. Like that's way too much. Eat like a bite, and that's good for like an hour. And so it lasts a very, very long time because it is so dense. I have seen people eat too much at once and they never feel real good about it. It can be a little bit tricky to get out of here. Think like peeling out bacon fat or Crisco or something like that. Ah! Well, that's all right. Sometimes you can't teach someone to get out of their own way. Before I put it in here though, I'm gonna give this a try. This is the regular pemmican. It's really good. Actually, I get it. It doesn't look good. It's really good though. A lot of people cut those into bars, like slice them up. I don't see a need to do that though. When I'm ready for some, I just open the bag and take a bite and put it back. So this is the pemmican with the raisins. So let's try it. That's really interesting actually. Like I said, I like it with cranberries because it kind of gives it some tart flavor to it. The raisins just make it kind of sweet though. You don't get a really strong raisin flavor. You still definitely get like the bacon and the fat flavor from the actual bacon, but with like a little extra sweetness. That's kind of interesting. I don't mind that. I like it better with cranberry, but that's still pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So what I typically like to do with the pemmican is I'll actually, once I get into a bag like this, I'll probably freeze it. But then it'll stay cold basically for a couple of days. It's so dense that it just doesn't melt quickly. You don't want to carry this around in the summer, it will melt. But in the fall, winter, spring, it stays pretty solid and it's pretty good. But definitely keep it in a plastic bag. You don't want to keep that in something where it could leak out. Well folks, there you have it. 2 of the all-time great survival foods. This is my modern kind of take on them with semi-hardtack and bacon pemmican. You can't go wrong. These are great if you have to go on any kind of a hike or anything like that. And if you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so. It's so helpful for me. And on top of that, I would love if you left a comment on what your bucket list outdoor adventure is. I'd love to get new ideas. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Typically Hazardous.